All right, guys. So I started a thing. I mean, I'm not the guy who did it first, but channel-wise, I started a thing. I started putting oil on my Micarta scales to see how they looked and everything. And apparently it's liked, because now when I get a knife with my Micarta scales, people are like, "You're gonna oil them?" So these are the three most recent Micarta scale knives we've gotten in various boxes. This is the Bestech Swift. This was a monthly knife club tier 2 name brand. This is the, what is this? The CMB made Lurker. I think this also came in monthly knife club. Or is this Going Gear? I can't remember, to tell you the truth. But got some nice brown Micarta. And this is my new favorite daily carry. I'm gonna have to put it in text because I can't remember. It's Giant Mouse, but also beautiful Micarta scales. This definitely came from the Going Gear EDC Club Premium box. I can tell you that. So in all these things, people have commented like, "Well, you're gonna oil those up." This one's really cool. It has a Micarta backspacer too. So you know what? We're just gonna do a video where we oil these guys up and we see what they look like. So we're gonna do one side at a time because it's easier to do the face side than the clip side. And what's the opposite? What's like the visual equivalent of ASMR? This is gonna be like visual ASMR, oiling stuff up, I guess. So when you do this, when you oil your scales, you can use almost anything. You don't want to use anything, obviously, that's like corrosive or solvent based. Stuff by Vortec is all, I mean, it's less destructive than a lot of other types of stuff out there. I can tell you that some of the big popular brands are nothing but like Crisco and vegetable oil and stuff. I mean, honestly, but you could use olive oil, you could use vegetable oil, you could use CLP, you could use anything you want to do this, almost. You just don't want to use anything that's going to hurt the Micarta itself. So here's our oiled side compared to our non-oiled side. Now you will have to redo this because the oil will. Remember, Micarta is not just the cloth or the fabric or whatever it's made of. It's impregnated with resin, so it can't really fully absorb the oil. It can only go so far into it, into so many fibers. So this will like seep out if you're putting it in your pocket. It will eventually, I don't know if evaporate is the right word, but it will not stay in that Micarta forever. It will dry again, leaving you with that look overall. So if you're doing this, this is not a one-time, once and done. I mean, if this is a look you want to maintain, you're gonna have to do it a few times, over and over again, basically. A few times was a bad misspeak on my part because it's gonna be more than a few times. It's gonna be, every time this look wears off. It's a maintenance thing, if this is the look that you're going for. But I like the look of the oiled Micarta. Some people like the very raw look of the, kind of, you see the raw element of the Micarta. I like it looking, when I work on a knife and I do custom scales, this is the last step, is to oil it up to really show the grains and really show the pattern, and it gives it a nice look. Whether I'm working with G10, Micarta, almost any material, when I'm all done, I oil it up as a finishing step. So G10 also over time kind of dries out, and to restore that nice look, you can oil it. Now you don't want to leave it slick. That's the point of Micarta. It gives you a little grip, and because of the properties of Micarta, even though we have oiled it, once you get the excess off the surface, you still feel a little grippiness to the cloth. So here is the Swift oiled up. Now, how much oil you want to remain on, if you leave this wrapped in a paper towel or a cloth, it will slowly seep and absorb that oil out of the scale, until you unwrap it. So you can decide how much oil you want to leave, how much you want to remove. But I think that's a good look. I like that look over the raw micarta. Let's go with the giant mouse, which is my favorite that I've been carrying lately. See, oh yeah, oh look at that, look at the difference. That one really shows. And blacks, reds, darker colors really tend to respond really well to the oiling. You can do this, by the way, if you don't want to do it with your hand. I don't know if I do it with a paintbrush, but like with a foam brush. If you're using something to oil that you're reluctant to get on your hands or your fingers, probably don't want to put it on your knife either. It's probably not the best choice. But that is beautiful. That almost looks like a wood grain by the time we're done there. I should also say that most micartas, given enough time in use, they will absorb oils from your hands, stuff that's on your hands. They will darken up on their own in, I don't want to say a permanent fashion because you can wash them, but they will take on a darker look through use. And again, it is all up to you if you want to, like this one was already starting to show some use, so I washed it. I took the scales off, a little actual hand soap, and scrubbed it so that when we did this today, we'd have a nice clean surface to really show the effects of the oiling. But that's gorgeous. I love that. And you can see how it's in some spots it's showing a little less sheen because that is the oil actually getting down in between the fibers of the micarta that it can reach. And so we'll get the excess off. And you know, it's not going to hurt it, and if a little bit gets in your pivot, oh well, it's oil. You know, unless you have something in there that you specifically want, you don't want anything getting in. Some people use a fluorinated grease or some other specialty lubricant on their pivot. You know, you might not want anything else mixing with that. That's really good looking. That's gorgeous. That's really nice. Okay. And then finally, we've got the lurker, which I believe might darken. Oh, I guess it won't darken up as much, but you can see it's getting a little darker there. Definitely a noticeable change. We'll get the back spacer too. That area is going to be a little hard to get. Yeah, if you look at here's the before, and here's the after, it's definitely taken on a darker, kind of richer color. I like the brown micartas because they kind of take on a wood tone when they're done. I don't like wood scales. That's weird. I like the look of it. I don't like wood scales. Unless they're really well sealed and finished, too much can warp and mess with your wood scales. I understand they're very popular in a lot of knives, but the really good companies and the really good makers will have them sealed properly. Cheaper companies will not. They just cover them with like shellac or sometimes just bare wood. And well, anybody with any experience with wood knows that untreated wood, just bare wood that gets wet, that is exposed to the elements, you know, transitions from hot to cold and back again, that warps the wood. And I've seen too many knives, not well enough made, whose scales get warped and cracked. And I've seen too many knives with wooden scales that are not quite well enough made. The wood gets warped, cracked, discolored. I prefer synthetic materials just because it's you have more control over what happens with them. You know, that's the point of using synthetics. They're not as sensitive to the elements and environmental conditions and resist that kind of use and wear and tear better for the most part. Okay, I'm not talking a broad sweeping generality. There are some that are a little fragile, but for the most part, they resist all that stuff better than a lot of natural elements. Again, there's always exceptions to that, but that looks pretty nice too. So this is something very easy that you could do. to any micarta knife you have. The key is, before you take it out and start using it again, you really want to spend some time to let that excess oil, wipe it off, let it absorb into something else. You don't want an oily, slick knife in your hand. That is a recipe for disaster. How much do you let get out of the knife? That's up to you. Okay, it's your knife, but I like to be able to feel the grain of the micarta again. I like to feel the fabric again under my fingers. To me, that's a good point as to where I feel like I've gotten enough of the oil out of there, and I've got some grippiness to it again. I certainly don't want any slick, oily hardware or anything. That's not a good idea. And again, like I said, you can apply this lesson to G10 as well. Old G10 that looks kind of dried and a little worn out, you can renew very easily with some oil. So there's a video for those wanting to see the oiled micarta scales. And I will, you know, I don't always have it available for me to do in the videos, the unboxing videos when I get them, but I'll try to remember to keep up with that. So what do you guys think? Natural as they come or oiled? What's your preference? What do you like better? Again, like I said, even if you try this and you don't like it, you can soak it in hot water and scrub it with some soap and get that stuff out of there, or you could just let it naturally, you know, wear itself out. But I love this knife so much. So much. Great EDC size, weight, and function, and now I love the dark micarta look of it, especially with the bronze backspacer. That's just a great look. Only thing I'm not a big fan of this wire clip, but other than that, I love it. So, yeah, what do you guys like? Regular, you know, the just regular finished micarta look or the oiled look? Let's discuss. And thanks, guys, for the video idea. Those of you who have been asking to see the oiled scales. And to everybody out there, remember that you are all absolutely awesome. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll be back again real soon.